The Proskomedia performed before each Eucharist is perhaps one of the most symbolic and complex elements of worship from a ritual point of view. The very name Proskomedia means offering in Greek. This coincides with the main meaning of this rite, which is an act of offering our gifts, embodied by bread and wine, to God. The Proskomedia has become much more complicated since the first centuries, when it consisted simply in bringing the best bread and wine to church and placing them on the altar table. Its modern, elaborated appearance stems from the East and gradually begins to take shape in the second millennium. The rite of Proskomedia has not been unified, which led to some differences existing in it for a considerable time. This article is dedicated to one such difference remaining to this day between the Greek and the Russian practices, namely the commemoration of the bodiless hosts. The rather ancient tradition of commemorating the angels during the Proskomedia has long been rooted in the Greek churches. The particles in commemoration of the archangels Michael and Gabriel, as well as all the heavenly and bodiless powers, are taken from the prosophoron of the 9 ranks and placed on the discos to the left of the Lamb. Remembering the great angelic leaders Michael and Gabriel and all heavenly powers, the priest then takes out a particle in honor and memory of the honorable prophet and Baptist John, commemorating the glorious forerunner not separately as it is done in the Russian practice, but as an honorable member of the entire prophetic host, the last Old Testament prophet, and the greatest among those born of women. This appears quite logical, since the prosophoron of the 9 ranks is named so to commemorate the 9 types of holiness, one of which, the prophetic holiness, is shared by St. John the Baptist with other prophets. It is noteworthy that the 9 types of holiness are often viewed as the earthly projection of the 9 angelic orders. The modern rite of Proskomedia arose at the beginning of the second millennium, which was also the time when the angelic forces began to be commemorated at the Prothesis, the Greek synonym for Proskomedia. The Typicon of the 12th and 13th centuries, as well as the diataxis of Patriarch Philotheus I, also prescribe commemorating angels at the Proskomedia. What is the reason for such a tradition? Truly, the Son of God shed his blood not for the angels but the people. At the same time, according to St. Maximus the Confessor, the consequences of Christ's sacrifice on the cross, as well as the very fact of the Incarnation, extend to the whole world, including the angelic host. Taking on the created nature of which angels are also a part, God the Word in His Incarnation sanctifies it. Saint Simeon of Thessaloniki, in his writing called The Wisdom of Our Salvation, directly writes that angels should be remembered at the Proskomedia since they participated in the sacrament of the Incarnation, thus uniting with the Christians who were reborn by water in the Spirit and constituting one church with us. Desiring to partake in the mysteries of the Church and striving to the degrees of ascent, angels are present at the Eucharist and intercede for us before God. In the light of this, the commemoration of angels at the Proskomedia emphasizes the cosmic dimension of the liturgy and the universal significance of the Incarnation, uniting the heavenly and earthly under the authority of Christ. Despite the numerous manuscripts and ancient service books testifying to such a rite, there is no commemoration of angels in modern Russian Proskomedia. What are the arguments in favor of the Russian tradition? First of all, it is asserted that angels are ethereal spirits and therefore cannot be represented by symbolic material particles, whereas the Proskomedia embodies only the human race. It should be noted here that the incorporeality of angels is a rather complex theological question. The second reason, strongly articulated by priest Sergei Muretov, known for his expertise in liturgics, is that the commemoration of the angels at the Proskomedia has a historically accidental origin. In the very beginning of its formation, the rite of the Proskomedia was based on the already existing litany, O Lord, save your people, during which various communions of saints and angels were commemorated. This is proved by the fact that for some time even the Lord's cross was commemorated at the Proskomedia, which looked unduly, even though its remembrance during the litany makes perfect sense. Finally, the third and most important argument is the statement that the Eucharist introduces us to the sacrifice of Calvary for the atonement of sins. Being sinless creatures, angels do not need redemption, which applies exclusively to the descendants of the fallen Adam. After communion, the priest pours the Proskomedia particles into the chalice with the words, "Wash away, O Lord, the sins of those who were remembered here by your precious blood and by the prayers of your saints." In this event, the inclusion of the angels in the Proskomedia is regarded as asserting their dependence on the redeeming sacrifice of Christ, which is dogmatically questionable. Both the Greek and Russian traditions exist in the Church today on equal terms. Each contains its own significance and unique beauty, while jointly serving as an example of the golden rule being implemented in the Church. In necessary things, unity; in uncertain things, liberty; in all things, charity.